Hello, everybody. Welcome back to A Cult of Misfits. I'm Matt Owens, and I got a lot to talk about today. I can always feel when it's getting all bottled up, so I'll give you the rundown here in a second. But first, huge thank you to everybody who's supporting what I'm doing around here. Thank you to everybody who is following the podcast on Spotify and YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and big thank you to everybody who's supported the podcast by sharing it on social media and sharing it with fellow misfits. And thank you to everybody who's donated. You guys are awesome, and I feel like we got a good thing going here. So today, what I want to talk about is how, first of all, I'm currently sitting in a car with a dead battery. We'll get into that. We'll get into risking your biscuits a little bit, being a little risky with your life, calculated risks. I want to talk about suffering and the avoidance of suffering and how to train your mind to eliminate or reduce the amount of suffering in our lives. So that's where we'll start. We'll see where the good Lord leads us in this conversation. Let's talk about how I'm sitting in a car with a dead battery. I often talk about going with the flow, right? Just go with the flow. It's easy, right? But I want to explain this and break this down because I believe that everything happens for a reason. I believe that everything always works out. And I want to use this as an example of those things. Because what the universe does in all of our lives, what I've noticed in my own life, is that the universe throws us these things into our path. We can call them wrenches, right? Or thorns in our side or whatever. But I believe that these events come into our life like a dead battery, or even, further down on the scale, like a death, or, something catastrophic or traumatic in our lives. All of these things happen for a reason. And so when they do, what I've done is, first of all, part of my practice is I just practice this until it just becomes a part of what happens, right? It's just a retraining of our minds, which I'll get into deeper in a bit. But it's about practicing. Right? I practice not losing my shit when my battery dies. I practice not getting angry or upset because those things don't serve me. Ultimately, they don't serve me. So it's just about practicing. Every time something is about to piss me off, I say, whoa. Let's practice not getting pissed off. At least not getting pissed off for 30 seconds, taking a breath or two. Okay, then I'll allow myself to get pissed off, right? It's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. But it's these little things. So I have to tell myself, okay, I have a dead battery, right? Been there before. Right? This won't be the last time. So how am I going to react to this? I can get pissed off, start throwing shit around, freaking out. That's all just responses to fear. But once I start practicing the mantra of everything always works out, 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 and I say it 10 million times, literally, until it sinks into my sweet little gray matter, that everything's going to work itself out, sweetie pie. That's what I tell myself when I'm trying to calm myself down, talk myself off the cliff, is come on, sweetie pie. Take a deep breath. This is going to work out. Did it work out every other time you had a dead battery? We all know the answer. Say it together. Yes. Yes, of course it did. Is it going to happen again this time? Yes, of course it's going to work out. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know the mechanisms of the details, but that's where the universe comes through. And the universe always comes through. So it's these little reminders in my life that's like, okay, you know how you're panicking right now? And you know how your mind, that voice in your head is telling you, panic, it's not going to work out. Red alert, red alert. It's about putting that voice on mute and just saying, nope, we're not going to talk like that anymore. Now we just repeat the mantra, everything's going to work out. Don't know when, don't know how. Everything's going to work out. I'm going to stick my key into the ignition and suddenly it will start magically. That's happened before. Drive myself to go get a new battery. Okay, cool, thanks. Somebody's going to jumpstart my battery. It's just going to work out. And I'm so confident in that It's bringing me to tears. So this is working for somebody. It's working for me. I'm so confident in this process, and I'm so thankful for the universe for giving me all the fucking practice that it's given me over the years, like this. I'm so confident in the fact that I'm sitting here I'm choosing to sit in my car and record a podcast rather than worrying about my battery right now. Because I just know it's going to work out, so I just might as well record the podcast. I'm kind of feeling it right now, and it's going to come together when it comes together. And so these are the moments in my life, that's why I'm talking about it. These are the moments in my life that are just batting practice. The whole thing is freaking batting practice. This whole universe, this whole reality is batting practice, in my humble opinion. In a recent episode, I was talking about how zen and balanced I am. Because I was cooking this delicious sandwich that was epic, by the way. And I put it into the toaster oven, and it completely fell apart. Cheese, everything just everywhere, made a huge hot mess, literally and figuratively. And I talked about how peaceful I was and how I patted myself on the back for, hey, good job that you've been practicing these things, right? Even though it's just a dumb sandwich collapsing in the toaster oven and just making a hot fucking mess everywhere. That I can kind of laugh at and just say, oh, well, that was meant to happen. And I'm telling you this because I had I had that flip side of the coin happen to me this week as well. I want to tell you that I'm not always all zen and peaceful is what I'm getting at here. That everything is a practice, and I'm not on the mountaintop, and that's what I want to share with you. I was daydreaming about this freaking pizza. I was just daydreaming about pizza all day long. Can't wait to eat some fucking pizza. That sounds so good. I'm like, closing my eyes and just dreaming of the toppings. Super pumped for the pizza. And so I get the pizza. I fire the oven up. It's like a take and bake pizza situation, where you... For those of you not in the United States of America, you may not have this in your country of origin, but we have these pizzas that it's like raw dough, uncooked pizza on like a white tray that's made of paper. But what kind of paper doesn't light on fire in the oven? So I kind of don't understand that technology, but it's probably coated in all these chemicals that are keeping it like flame retardant on the paper in order to keep the paper from going up in flames. But that's okay. It tastes delicious, guys. I'm already 90% plastic as it is, so I might as well eat a pizza off of a toxic piece of chemically dipped cardboard paper from the future. So anywho, super excited to eat this chemical bath pizza, and threw it in the oven. It's a thin crust. I wanted a thin and crispy. I was just feeling it. And normally I like to cook the pizza for a little bit and then take it off of the white tray in the oven in order to make the bottom kind of more crispy. You follow? And so I got a process. I got it down to a science, guys. So anyway, I go to take the stupid pizza off the tray, and the dough is still sticking to the white tray. It's not letting me take the pizza off so I can, crisp up the bottom. And to be honest with you, I was in the red. That's what I call just being so hungry that I can't even see straight. If you talk to me, I may literally bite you. Just back the fuck off. I'm so fucking hungry. I'm in the red. I'm in the red. When I tell my kids I'm in the red, they know, let's just leave the room for a minute. Let's get some food in your fucking face, cram it down, get it in there, and then, okay, now we're back to normal here. So I just need some food. So I'm in the red, and now I've been dreaming of this fucking pizza all day long, and now the dough is sticking to the tray, and I'm getting a little riled up, to be honest with you, because I just want it to work correctly, and it's not going the way I had planned. So now I'm getting like a spatula trying to wrench the still semi-uncooked dough from the stupid tray that it's on, and it's working in some spots. Other spots it's loose, other spots it's not. It's sloshing around, and I'm quickly becoming livid. Uh, it's escalating quite rapidly, and I'm getting extremely fucking frustrated. And so I slam the oven. Of course, I slam it. I slam the oven door shut, like hoping to knock the dough loose or whatever. And I set the timer again and angrily walk away, checking on it every 30 seconds, just kind of cursing the fucking dough under my breath as if it can understand English. That's okay. It doesn't matter. It's an energy. I'm fucking pissed off at you, dough, and I want you to feel that energy. So I'm just radiating anger, and I check back 3 minutes later, and now the top of the pizza, because it's thin crust, is like, it's turning black, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm not embarrassed to tell you. It's turning fucking black, which makes me even more irate because the bottom of the pizza is still basically raw. And I just want to eat some fucking food. I just want to take the pizza and frisbee it across the room. Let it hit the wall. Let it make a mess. I don't fucking care. I just want it. I'm so fucking angry right now. So I get the spatula again. It's not working. So now I get like a longer spatula that has more reach to get the inside. It's just not long enough. Nothing is working. I can't do this anymore. So, I'm like, that's it. Fine. Fuck it. I don't care. And I take the pizza out. And as I take the pizza out of the oven, it slips off the fucking tray. Like I've been trying to do that for the last 20 minutes and it does it when I don't want it to. It slips off and it folds over upon itself, creating like a pita, like a sandwich, and just completely destroying like the fucking pizza. Like it's just cheese is everywhere, squirting out. The toppings are all just akimbo. And I'm ready to just, I'm done. I need to tap out. I can't do this anymore. So I go and take a lap, just unballing my fists of fury. And I had to take a breath, right? So I tell these stories of when I'm all zen and calm and look how peaceful I am, guys. All you have to do is just breathe, right? But then there are other days. Those other days are the ones that remind me, oh, I'm not the master yet. I'm still the fucking student. Right? The ones where I fall on my ass and go, oh, okay, I'm still learning here. Still learning. It's all practice. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God. Thank you, whoever the fuck is helping me out over there. Appreciate the lesson. Appreciate the opportunity to fucking practice patience, to fucking practice breathing, not reacting to things. So I'm thankful for the fucking ruined pizza. Because really, at the end of the day, what I have to remind myself is, it took me a minute to get there, guys. Let's just be real. But eventually I got myself to a place where I got some food in my system. I crammed it down my gullet. And finally, my blood sugar was where it should be, and rational minds started reappearing. And when that happened, it's just a good reminder that, like, look, I'm happy to just have access to a fucking oven and hot food, right? That's a blessing. That's a blessing. There have been times in my life where I didn't have access to hot food. What a blessing, right? So I try to remind myself of these things anytime calamity happens, whether that calamity is a pizza disaster, Pizzagate, guys. Actually, I think Pizzagate is something else, and I don't want to associate myself with that. So let's just call it the pizza disaster of 2024. Your children will be taught about it at some point in history, I bet. But whether it's a dead battery or pizza or a death or something more calamitous than pizza, it's just a reminder to say, okay, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for all of this happening to me. Because ultimately, it's for my highest and greatest good. What I'm getting out of it is practice. I'm practicing patience. I'm practicing letting go. I'm practicing not attaching myself. I'm practicing just a whole host of things that we're learning, right? And so I think what I want to talk about today is essentially what we're talking about, and suffering. Whether it's mild on the spectrum in terms of suffering, like my dinner got ruined, right? There is whether, there was an amount of suffering there. Now, is it the same amount of suffering as, getting a cancer diagnosis? Obviously not. But everything is a spectrum, as the ancients have talked about. And so this is a spectrum as well, a spectrum of suffering. And on my walk a few days ago, I was thinking that how much of our days, how much of our lifetimes are spent in avoidance of suffering. I know that I spent a great deal of my life, upon analyzing it, avoiding suffering, right? I don't want to get made fun of. I don't want to have bad things happen to me. I don't want to have a dead battery. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to be homeless. I don't want to, all these things that scare the shit out of me. See, that fear and that suffering are often intertwined, right? I'm often experiencing that suffering because fear is often a component of it, I found, when looking in my own life, and perhaps upon analysis you'll find that in your own life as well. I'm staying in my dead-end job, which is causing a great deal of suffering, and yet, in order to eliminate the suffering, all I would have to do is quit my job or get another job, and yet fear is what is keeping me in place, keeping my feet firmly planted where I don't want to be or I know I'm not meant to be. And the reason that I'm not advancing forward is because of fear. Whether it's not willing to step outside of my own comfort zone or trying something new or being willing to risk my biscuits. I talked in an early episode about risking my biscuits. I love risking my biscuits because there's so much growth opportunities in risking my biscuits. And I found in my own life that that's a squeaky ass car. Can you guys hear that? It sounds like 10,000 mice are powering that car that just drove by. It's squeaking so loud, but sounds like a Disney villain, like just having this vehicle drive by that's just powered by the suffering of mice is what we're getting at. So it's all tied together. The mice are suffering, that woman's brakes are suffering, so everybody's suffering, guys. And so what was I talking about? The the squeaking distracted me. About risking our biscuits, stepping outside of our comfort zone, knowing that there's going to be an element of suffering in doing that, but ideally and ultimately what's going to happen is you're going to overcome it, right? You're going to overcome it, and when you do, you can realize, and looking back in retrospect, like, oh, okay, that suffering was worth it because now I'm not scared of that thing anymore, or now I'm not as worried as I used to be, or whatever. Like stepping outside of our comfort zone and risking our biscuits. A perfect example of that is I'm sitting here, I'm at the library, and there's an elevator that is right next to the parking garage, right, that goes up to the upper levels. So how does an elevator work, Matt? Well, you see, there's different levels, guys. Anywho, so there's a sign on it that's posted that says out of order, right? And so this lady came up to the elevator. She's got this suitcase with rollers on it, like she's doing some presentation or something, right? So she comes up to the elevator and doesn't want to go up all the stairs, obviously. She's wearing like pumps and has like this suitcase, right? She doesn't want to lug it up all the stairs. So I watched her. She walked to the elevator, then kind of walked over to the stairs, and she's like making up a decision here. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? And so what she did, she walked back to the elevator and she pushed the button and the doors open and she hopped inside, guys. She hopped inside of an elevator that said out of order, and she decided to risk her biscuit. She took a calculated risk knowing that, well, what are the chances that I'm not going to get up one story? It's just a 2-story library here. So it's like, I'm going to risk it. Worst case scenario, I'm going to have to call 911 and the firemen have to come and rescue me out of this elevator, but the odds of that happening are probably slim, so I'm going to risk it and I'm going to punch it. And she did. And I really enjoyed watching that because that's exactly the same thing I would have done. Made a calculated risk, like, yes, it could actually be broken and I'm risking going into this elevator, but at the same time, like, it's probably going to work out, right? It also speaks to the idea that I always talk about, that everything is an illusion, right? That out of order sign was clearly an illusion because the elevator's not out of order, right? There's some other reason that they didn't want people in there, perhaps, but the case is, the fact is, it's not out of order. So, everything always works out. This is perhaps, this is how I live my life. Everything is probably an illusion. And I'm just going to go forward with that knowledge and that insight by risking my biscuits, willing to take more calculated risks in my life, knowing that, it's probably going to work out, right? Looking back at all the other times in my life that I risked my biscuits, and one way or another, let's just be honest with each other, it worked itself out, right? And so I had to really think about it a lot in my life. That's why I didn't just all of a sudden say, oh, this is my new mantra. I'm just going to trust blindly the universe to take me where I need to go. No, that was a very scary process for me. But it's these types of examples that I'm talking about that got me to a place where I'm like, you know what? Every single fucking time that something happened to me, it did work itself out. So I'm just going to go forward with that knowledge and not freak out. Right? All the times that it didn't, all the times that all these things happened to me and it all came together one way or another. Right? So a lot of this, a large component of getting myself to this place where it's like, well, whatever, we'll just go with the flow here. The way that I did that was training our mind. I had to train my mind to sit the fuck down, to chill out, and to not worry or get stressed about something, whatever it might be. I have to say, hey, buddy, remember we do this every time. We do this little dance of ours. That voice in my mind, that reptilian part of my brain, I refer to it as Hal. Like the HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey, right? We should be scared of this, Matt Owens. Why aren't we more afraid right now? This might not work out. And I'm like, nope, I don't play that game, Hal. Nope. I don't say those things anymore. So I train my mind when I'm experiencing suffering. I train my mind with just certain core, it's usually a bunch of mantras that I tell myself that get me through it. That nothing lasts forever, right? Whatever I'm experiencing right now that's causing me suffering, it's not gonna be here at some point, right? Because a lot of it is how we're interpreting the things that happen in our lives, right? How often I found myself choosing to get angry and upset over something. It's all a choice. That was part of my learning process as well. It's like, oh, I just was, all of a sudden I was angry. It just was there and I just went with it. I'm just going to be pissed off. And you know what? I'm going to be pissed off all day. What do you think of that? Especially if it's like something that somebody did to me. Maybe I'll be pissed off about it for years. Huh? What do you think about that? But then I started realizing, oh, that doesn't feel so good being bottled up inside my gut all these years. All this bitterness and anger and rage and resentment and whatever. And so I had to start purging myself of that slowly over time, right? Forgiving myself and then being able to forgive other people and seeing things from other people's perspectives. All of this helped to unlock all that bottled up junk, right? That's a part of me. But learning to love the junk, right? And maybe not labeling it as junk. But over the years, I've learned to just practice training my mind. It feels very Yoda and, Jedi Master of, train the mind. But, all of the ancients talk about how everything is of the mind, whether that's meant to be taken literally or figuratively. I'm kind of in both places, right? That figuratively, we are perhaps living in a false reality, that we are the illusion of God's mind or God's dream or something along those lines, right? But very literally, my reality, my day-to-day world is a reflection of my own mental, I don't like using the word control, but my own mental acuity, my own ability to not react to certain things, right? Practicing not getting upset when somebody makes fun of me. Practicing being patient when I'm in a really long line that's taking fucking forever, right? Practicing. Training my mind not to get antsy, right? Going on my walks without my cell phone or, not looking at social media for 24 hours. Training my mind to get used to these sorts of things. Training myself not to get defensive all the time. Training myself not to, just a long list, right? Fill in the blank. But that's my reality is almost exclusively based upon how I'm choosing to respond to it. And that's super profound. I can go through life with a lens of victimhood, for example, and then everybody's out to get me, and all the things that are bad in my life are because of them, or the bad guys, or my parents, or society, or the church, or I can spend my whole life blaming all of them, or I can train my mind to realize, no, it's all my response to things, right? It's all in how I'm choosing to react and respond based upon my previous perceived traumas, for example. Right? And it's about acceptance too. Like the Eastern philosophies always talk about acceptance, just accepting where you're at, accepting that you have a dead battery, accepting that you just got fired, accepting that you're not where you want to be or where you feel you should be. Acceptance that you're losing that money, acceptance that you just lost that car or job, whatever. I've seen so many interviews of people interviewing, quote unquote spiritual people that just sort of say like, or religious people. And the question that always comes up is, how come a just and loving God can, let an innocent child die from cancer, for example? And all of that is about what we've been talking about. It's all wrapped up in suffering. People don't want to suffer. People are, in this particular example, people are afraid of death. They're afraid of their own death and mortality. They're afraid of their loved ones dying. They're afraid of getting cancer. They're afraid of whatever's in the great beyond. There's a lot of fear wrapped up in that question of why do bad things happen to innocent people? But also as being a part of our minds, you're choosing to label something. We as people are often choosing to label things as good, quote unquote good, or quote unquote bad, right? Well, surely everybody thinks that murder is bad. Well, that's not obviously true. The majority of people on the planet believe that, but there are definitely people on the planet that see no problem with murdering, right? Nothing is as black and white as that. That just goes to our binary programming in our mind of black or white, good guys, bad guys, moral, immoral, right? And training your mind to expand beyond those polarities. As the ancients talk about seeing that spectrum, recognizing that it's all one spectrum. And there are many points along that spectrum of morality, for example, or suffering, for example. What's suffering to you might be, a cakewalk to me. I'm like, give me a break with that, right? That's judgment, right? But recognizing that suffering is a matter of one's perspective. And so as a part of this journey for me, what I started to do was ask myself, like, what would it look like theoretically if I eliminated suffering from my life, right? What if I didn't get mad at anything, didn't let anything bother me or upset me, recognize that all of this is perhaps just an illusion or a simulation or a matrix or whatever? What if I were to take those things into account and not get so worked up about things, right? What if my car battery died and I didn't get upset by it? Could I get myself to a place where that was my new reality? And the answer is yes. I have experienced so much more, let me say that a different way. I've experienced so much less suffering in my life over the years, and I don't believe it will ever be eliminated while we're here in this material realm, this universe, or whatever you want to call it. I think we're meant to experience suffering and to get ourselves to a place where we can be okay with that, which is the whole challenge. That's the whole shebang. That's the whole game here, is can I become okay with suffering? Because the truth is, in my own life, I'll just tell you that as I've began to let go of these things and do these practices with my mind, that the suffering does dissolve to a large extent. It's actually pretty amazing, right? So these ancients were onto something. They kind of knew something. And I think about it too, like part of my beliefs is I think that we are literally divine beings, quote unquote God or gods or something beyond our comprehension, right? Something from the angelic realms. I don't know. Call it what you will. But I believe that we are divine, limitless beings that are experiencing pure joy, love, heavenly realm type stuff, right? On the other side. And right now, how wild would it be if you were a limitless being that only experiences one side of that spectrum? Only the light, right? No darkness, no sadness, no trauma, no depression, no whatever, right? So if I were this eternal being that only experienced that, what a wild trip it would be to say like, hey, let's hop into this freaking 3D realm, forget who the fuck we are, and dabble in depression. Wouldn't that be crazy? Right? And I feel like as a divine being, I'd totally be down for that. Like, yeah, okay. Yeah, that would be fun, right? It's only for about 100 years, right? It's in the blink of an eye. It's just a fun little experience, right? You're going to freak out. You're going to be real scared all the time, right? All worried and stressed all the time and anxious. It's going to be a hoot, right? I think my soul is just here for the earth ride. Like I know, knowing full well that there's going to be suffering, knowing that I can handle it, knowing that it's all going to work out, knowing that it's for the betterment of an expansion of my soul or consciousness or whatever, right? That it all serves a grander divine purpose in some way that I probably can't fully comprehend as a human, right? But I just think that the answer to why does God let bad things happen to innocent people is because that's the whole point. Right? And we don't want to hear that while we're here. And that the human doesn't want to hear that. The human's like, are you fucking kidding me? This is going to be miserable. But the trick is, if you choose to view it as miserable, you will have a miserable existence. If you choose to experience life in a grateful way, like, you know what? Thank you that I even have a car that has a dead battery, right? How many people don't have cars? Right? I'm so lucky that I get to drive around today. Yes, I have a dead battery, but why am I going to focus on that today? What a bummer that is. Instead, let's focus on like all the things that are going my way today. Right? The fact that I have legs to walk around, what a freaking blessing. That I have this iPhone in my hand that costs more than, some people make in a year in some places in the world, right? Like, what a blessing. Why am I focusing on the negative shit? This is what I have to remind myself. Again, it's all just practice. Practice. Even when I don't want to, even when I'm crying or angry or in the dark place or whatever. These are the foundational things that I do to just bring myself back to a good place, right? To reduce the amount of suffering. Because I'm in charge of my own suffering. That's what I didn't understand this whole time. And once that clicked for me, that I'm in charge of my own suffering, that was a game changer. Because now I'm like, oh, I thought that the politicians were causing my suffering. I thought my parents were causing this suffering. I thought that these events in my life were causing suffering. But it turns out, wait, yeah, I guess you got a point there. I'm choosing to get offended. I'm choosing to be upset by that. I'm choosing to let that drag me down. I'm choosing to let that linger in my heart. So what does it look like if I can learn to let that go? That's what this process is. Learning to let it all go. And how freeing that is for me, for my heart, for my spirit, right? Just to let that shit go is so freeing. So that's what I got going on today, guys. So shout out a little prayer to all the gods that that the divine will guide me to the right battery today. Thank you again for listening. I'm just continuing to enjoy these conversations so much because this is just the real shit, right? I'm still looking to reach out to other people who enjoy having these conversations about the inward journey and, elevating our spirits and all the fun stuff. I'm looking to get a group together once a month or so on Zoom theoretically, but I don't know. I'm looking to sort of get together with some people who enjoy talking about this stuff, just to sort of get to know each other and no agenda. I'm not going to record it or put it on the podcast or anything like that, but I'm just looking for people to talk about life with and talk about interdimensional beings with and the Anunnaki and shit, and also the stuff that we're struggling with, myself included. So I'm looking to get together a little group once a month or something like that. And if that sounds interesting to you, or you feel led to reach out to me, then please do so. You can reach out to me. There's information below. You can let me know what works for you. And I've never done this before, so I'm just sort of feeling it out and seeing where it goes. Every 6 months or so, I sort of check in and sort of put my feelers out and see if anybody else is interested in getting together for such a thing. No obligation, no whatever, It'd just be good to sort of get to know y'all, because I feel like it's great, all of my friends on social media that I haven't met in real life, but it'd be good to have a conversation face to face. That's why I enjoy talking to Nathan on the podcast and looking to talk to others as well at some point. Because when I talk about like-minded people, like-minded misfits or whatever, I'm just looking for people to talk to who enjoy talking about the same shit I do. So if that's you, then let me know, and let's get together and talk about weird shit. With that, I bid you adieu. Love you. End transmission.